welcome to Fads, the program that takes you inside the world of fashion, art, and design. Today, reduce, reuse, and recycle. Environmentally friendly artist Chris Chandler shows us how. Reduce, reuse, and recycle is the environmental battle cry. Well, today we meet an artist who puts his money and talent where his mouth is. Chris Chandler calls himself a recycle artist. And when we visited Chris at his Pelican Art Gallery, we found out just what it's all about. Chris, thanks very much for having us here.
Welcome.
I have to say, first of all, that I am very impressed by what I'm seeing.
Thanks.
Well, define for us, what is recycled art?
Recycle art is a very new art form. Saying new because it's only about 5 years old. It's made up of all kinds of recycled materials, basically with the main body being foam, hand carved, industrial foam, and then it's hand painted with industrial inks.
How did you get involved in this?
Well, I've been trained in printing, in the printing industry. I've been working there for a while. And over the years, seeing the amount of waste that builds up, I just couldn't, it's in my nature, I guess, to not let things waste. So I've been collecting everything I possibly can for a while.
Okay, well, let's take a look at some of your work. And we know that you have won several awards and so on at NIFCA.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this piece, for example, Chris, you say the bodies are generally made of foam?
Yes.
What type of foam? Are there many different types that you can use?
Right, they're polystyrene or polyurethane foam that can be used. It's a chemical reaction which gives the size of the bubbles. So it depends on what size bubble you would use for the material. The main body is foam, it's hand carved with knives, and then it's hand painted with inks. This is foam, everything is foam. The urchins are from toothpicks. Well, the shells are collected. The sea fans are collected from the beach as well. So it's a combination of all different art forms to create the one image you want to.
Where do you get your materials?
From just about anywhere, from the beach, from the garbage dump, from people's houses, from anywhere that is something there that I'll be able to use.
Okay, well, you mentioned using the foam and, of course, the sea fans, which he says he only uses once they come upon the beach. Yeah. You don't actually go and
No,
take
that wouldn't be recycled.
Right, that would defeat the whole purpose. Yeah. But what about some of the other materials that you use in creating your works of art?
Okay, well, like in a piece like above here, we have some nails. You use nails, there's plastics, there's shells, well, now I'm into bottles as well. That's the newest thing, because the foam is becoming so limited. So looking at new ways and new means of using different things. Bottle caps for the ice. This is from a wine bottle. So just about anything that, you put things that you never know when it's going to come in handy. So.
How widespread is this art form? I mean, you're doing it, but how many other artists are out there working with recycled materials?
There are quite a few actually, in Barbados, Caribbean, and then worldwide. But in this particular method, I don't know of any that are using this particular way. But even in Barbados, we have artists that are using tin cans. People are doing paper mache, which is recycling to an extent. And other forms, Dr. Bannister is another good example, a person I really admire, and he's using recycled material.
Now, what is interesting here, Chris, and this is, of course, is not your first exhibition, but in this one, there's a lot of concentration on sea life and general plant life. Yeah. Is this Chris's style, or is this specifically for revision.2000.com, which is the name of this exhibition?
Well, it's a bit of both, because the revision aspect, meaning you're looking at where I've been. It's only been 5 years, where I started, and where I am now, and hopefully where I'm going to be going in the future. So from that aspect, yes. And sea life now is because, as I tell everybody, the world is really a water planet, and we all know what's out there, the wildlife on the land, but the sea is it's like inner space. That's one of the names they use for it. So not only do I put up the fish and show you what's out there, show you the wildlife in the ocean, but then I present the information as well, which gives you an educational.
Where do you get your information from initially, Chris?
I research right through books, and you don't just go to one source. You get, because there are lots of different tidbits, where like one book might have one thing, another might have something else. So the more research you do, it doesn't make sense keeping the information up here. You bring it out so people can enjoy it as well.
Okay, tell us about some of the pieces that have won you awards in the past.
Well, this King of the Reef was the first one. The first year I entered NIFCA, I only entered this one to try it. And this got a silver the first time out, and I was really thrilled with that. So I said I'm going to try a little harder, and I went to the turtles. 2 turtles and a moray eel for the next year. They got silver as well, 2 silvers. So then I said, well, I have to find something that I will be able to get gold. So in '98, I did the scorpion fish, or death in disguise as it's called, and that got a gold. The white African mask that you see across the room, that got a silver. And Cable and Wireless, well, the piece is not here now, it's part of their collection. That's Forgotten Ones on the Boundaries of Heaven, which is a piece with King Dial and the bicycle, and 2 umpires all mounted together as one.
Okay, tell us about the tools that you use actually in the making of this. You say you start from books, and how do you progress from there to the beautiful pieces that we're seeing in front of us today?
Okay, well, the books, most of the books are going to give you a picture like very tiny, and what you do from there then is you blow it up. Well, by hand, you draw it up. But in the printing industry, we would do all that with cameras, so it doesn't really involve the art. So I become a human camera and blow it up to scale. That's the first thing, a drawing. Then you cut that drawing out. You put that drawing onto the foam, you cut the foam out, the raw cut, and you go in with knives, just knives. The various lengths, various sharpnesses, and you go in and do your carving from there.
Okay, you said you use recycled ink. Do you use any paints at all?
No, well, yeah, paints would come in like little bits of leftover emulsions, some oils, anything that, you know what, whenever you paint, you always seem to have a little left.
Leftover, that's right.
And they always harden up, and then people would go through it really can, and that's a resource that's going.
Okay.
So.
Well, it's really all very beautiful, Chris. Let's take a look at this parrot, very tropical, and then the colors are so vibrant. Tell me, do you get the exact color ink that you want, or do you have to do something to enhance it in some ways?
Okay, well actually this bird was one of the first ones I did. So that's actually spray paint, which I don't use anymore because that reduces my recycled content. I don't use sprays anymore. It's a lot harder to blend with the brushes, a little bit more work, but it can be done. So I work to suit. And plus working with what inks I have, because I can't go and say, well, I want this color. I have to take what I can get and adjust the suit. So that is how I do my painting and stuff. That's a Portuguese man of war. Actually, there's some folks in from Portugal. That was the first thing they ever heard about it, so they got educational experience. But the Portuguese man of war we can find on our beach, or beaches, maybe not that size. The same ink again, that was white, with a white cord, that's been dipped in ink. It was very nasty job to prepare because the ink was all over your hands and everything. But the Portuguese man of war is another one of my favorite pieces.
How long does it take you to create a piece?
Well, it would depend on the intensity and the size. But then a piece like the French angelfish, which are small, it requires the painting of the nails and everything. So some pieces, depends on the intricacy, would take anywhere from a week to a month.
Okay, tell us about the inspiration, Chris, behind these faces that you have.
The African masks, they are reproductions of 16th and 15th century actual African pieces. It's just part of the heritage of Barbadian heritage as well, because, you know, it's mostly African stuff. So the African masks are reproductions, and they're one of the most difficult things I found to try to see, you know, what level of difficulty I can attain with the foam. And so far, they're about the height of it. What inspires me? Well, everything from, well, now I'm going into more, again, out of the fish, because everybody's beginning to think, well, maybe Chris just does fish. So I'm going back to the culture and back to the roots and stuff. And also with these new pieces, because of the using the foam, I think I've used so much of it, it's becoming very hard to find. So I had to find ways to not only cut down, but to bring in another recycled percentage, and that's where the bottles and all the other bottles and stuff like that come in, because it helps me to conserve some of the foam, whereas using a new medium that I haven't used before, and that is just as unlimited as the foam used to be.
Okay, when you speak of bottles, Chris, are we looking at a bottle here, a plastic bottle?
This is glass. These are all glass,
okay.
half-gallon bottles. This one is a little teapot. That is all, and there's a little trick with her because her mouth comes out. So you trick the friend for one day it's like this, and then the next day it's in. And this teapot is older than I am. So using all this is a new cachet that saves me a lot of foam, but still I keep the percentage, maybe even higher than it was before.
Okay, and what is the direction as far as recycled art is concerned, would you say?
Direction meaning, well...
Like where do we go from here in terms of recycled art?
Okay, well now I've been trying to make an impression on the people in the island and people who are interested in art, and everybody basically, to show what the best of the work I can do. So to concentrate on a business, you're going to have to reduce the miniatures and taking it into a real business sense now. But other than that, I'm looking at stone as well, which really isn't, I can't really say recycle art, but that's a new direction I'm going in with the stonework.
Could you define that for us and expand a little on what you mean when you say stonework?
Okay, well, it's the same as carving, but you're carving in rock. Because Barbados is limestone, as everybody knows, it's covered in the rocks all over. So there are highway cutouts, you know, all that's rock that's exposed. So I'm looking from a commercial level for the and to the future as well.
Have you done that already?
Yes.
Where can we go then in Barbados and see this piece of work which is carved by Chris Chandler?
Okay, well there's only one place because it was the first try, and that's at my house, which is also / gallery. Okay. And that's in a gully that we cleared out and found this huge outcropping. Somehow I saw a lion in there somehow, and I went to work. And through the encouragement of my grandfather, I was going to bring in get a guy with a jackhammer, but he encouraged me, no, do it by hand and take your time and you'll appreciate it more. So that's a 9-foot lion, 9 feet, sitting down, and it's designed to be everything opposite to the one at Gun Hill. This is Dr. Colin Hudson. This was a piece of donated to the Future Center Trust, as these are the heroes of sustainability, which belong to the Future Center Trust. I did this one and donated it, as I see Dr. Hudson as probably one of today's most innovative and creative, sustainable people. The fire behind the Future Center, as I see it, and many people do. And in donating it, he didn't know it was going to be a piece of himself. So he was pretty surprised and a little embarrassed at it. So Colin, I'm very sorry, but this is how a lot of people feel. And this involves the Future Center Trust, the use of tire gardens and pet bottles, something that Dr. Hudson's been becoming very well known for in Barbados and outside of Barbados as well. Carmita Fraser, probably one of the best known of all the people in these dioramas, and being probably the only female hero of sustainability. Carmi is well known in Barbados, probably for the last, my generation and before, for her development in various foodstuffs, in new uses for food, and not just food, dealing with the women's organizations, a definite standout and a hero for any Barbadian woman to achieve to be. This is Joshua Steele. He is probably one of the most unknown, probably one of the most innovative people ever to be in Barbados. We never learn about him in school, but he's responsible for a host of things, from cotton, for the development of groundnuts, using various things for inks. He's also connected with the London Society of Arts, and he developed the Barbados arm of that society. Very unknown, but I think it's a pity that we don't know in Barbados just what a person like Joshua Steele was. He was also involved in his plantations and the banning of shackles and whippings, and try to make a better standard of living for the slaves, which he was responsible for. John Redmond Bavell, he's probably better known, and well, less known, but he's on our $2 bill. That's probably thing some people are surprised about. Very involved in development of sugarcane, developing very disease-resistant strains. Also a lot of work involved in bananas. And through his development of sugarcane, he basically managed to almost save the Barbados economy from total collapse during the World Wars by developing that. He's also involved with the sugarcane breeding station that still exists today. And his involvement, well, being on a $2 bill, I guess that sums it up.
Of the importance of moving now from the larger scale pieces to miniatures, when we're talking, of course, about a profit and business-wise. How difficult is it then to create the smaller pieces as opposed to having a greater space to work in?
Well, the smaller pieces, it's not as much, I guess not as exciting as an artist for me to do, but you have to think business-wise. And everybody can't afford these bigger pieces. I think I've made the impression I need to make. The sales, I've been able to do pretty well. I'm not complaining. It could be better, but hey, everybody would probably say that, right?
Well, Chris, we're gonna go around and look at this exhibition. It's quite exciting, and we invite people to come on over here to take a look at it. Chris, and what would you want to say to people to get them to come on out and see what you're offering?
Well, it's in the new Pelican Craft Center, which for me it's like a home. It's the first place I really feel like I am actually in an art center. Right, and it is the newest art center in the island, so it's not just me. Even if you come see the show, there's the Arts Council next door, and there's a whole wide spectrum of other shops and already crafts in Barbados that you can come visit. So you get a whole world in one when you come. You come see the show and you can come see all the other stuff as well.
Well, some of the words that you can use would include unique, educational, environmentally friendly. It's all about recycling, and that's exactly what Chris Chandler is doing. It's revision.2000.com. Chris, we look forward to seeing your name in the future, and we hope you get a lot more awards and a lot more sales as well.
Thanks a lot.